Welcome, everybody. My name is Marshall. This is the Experience More Tour, and we are here today with Oboz to talk about brand new. This is the launch season of GORE-TEX and Oboz product, and we're going to be focusing on the Katabatic LT GORE-TEX, which features our invisible fit technology in both the low and the mid. But we're also happy to talk about anything else in Oboz, as there are other styles that are fun to explore. So we know we want product experts on here to share information, and so we have invited two excellent product experts to talk Oboz today. We have with us Peter and we have with us Scott. And many of you have probably met Peter and Scott, as somehow these two get all the way around the country all the time and visit accounts. And it's really kind of amazing to have two folks here that have such experience in the outdoor industry, in meeting so many accounts, and specifically in Oboz. So welcome, Peter and Scott. We're psyched to have you here today.
Thanks for
Uh,
having us, Marshall.
yeah, our pleasure. And so let's begin with some intros, because y'all are new to this network. We'd like to get to know you a little bit better. So, Peter, I'm going to start with you. Do you mind introducing yourself, what you do at Oboz, and sort of what you love about working at Oboz?
Sure. Hi, I'm Peter. My job is education and outreach for the company. I travel around in the big old green van, mostly on the eastern half of the country, but Scott and I both travel on both sides of the continent and into Canada as well. So we're all over the map. And I've actually just recently gone to the UK to visit some stores over there as well. So um, kind of it's a fun gig, van life, and we get to do that as well. But yeah, I was a middle school teacher for 33 years, and that's why I'm a little nuts. But I'm out doing educating and outreach activities, visiting stores, doing clinics, and we get to go to some pretty cool gigs that Scott will probably talk about in a second.
Sounds like a dream job, Peter. It sounds really fun to be able to be on the road, and really different from being a middle school teacher. Although not necessarily that different. You're still teaching. You still have curriculum, and you still you get to explain ideas and concepts. It sounds pretty cool. And Scott, same back to you. Where are you based most of the year, and sort of what is it that you do with Oboz?
Yeah. Thanks, Marshall. Yeah, so my name's Scott Wilfling, Outreach and Education Coordinator for Oboz on the western half of the U.S. I am stationed and based here in Bozeman, Montana, outside Bozeman, Oboz. We have 18 million acres of the greater Yellowstone ecosystem in our backyard as a proven testing ground for our product. Get to live, breathe everything Oboz right here. I am at the corporate office right now, as you can see in the background, showcasing a lot of our Katabatic LT line, which we're going to dive into here in a little bit. But stoked to be a part of the Experience More tour campaign and the family. It's really exciting. We've done a couple of talks already, so hopefully this one goes just as smooth as the others.
Yeah.
But we're really excited to be here and be part of the family. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and what's it like at Oboz? You already said you're at the corporate headquarters. How big is that? What does that feel like there? How many folks
Yeah,
are?
really good question. So, we're small in numbers, but mighty by heart.
Mhm.
We are shy of just about 50 employees, wearing several hats, everything from our marketing to our product development. All of our shoes are created and conceptualized right here, right in downtown Bozeman, Montana, with a lot of commonality and themes on our footwear, such as the Bridger, the Katabatic winds, which are winds that come off the mountain range. You'll see a lot of commonalities of names that are familiar to the surrounding area.
Mhm.
It's a great office where a lot of like-minded people, bikers, skiers, hikers, fishermen, fisherwomen, whatever it may be, dog walkers. But all in all, it's one commonality, and that's true of the trail. And we live by the trail. We predominantly want to be the hiking brand.
Yeah, and it shows, right? Your product is so excellent on the trail, so hiking oriented, and you have such a niche product for all the different types of hikers that are out there doing all the different activities that we know hikers do. I would like to take a little bit closer look at Oboz as a brand as well, sort of what really makes them special. I know from the onset of Oboz that I've seen sort of some uniqueness around the One More Tree program. What is it about Oboz that really has it focused? Like, what do you think differentiates it as a brand with other brands in the industry?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Marshall. I mean, obviously, you're looking at the One More Tree logo right there and the certified B Corp. Diving into One More Tree, as of 2007, when the company was created, our founder had a philosophy of doing something different, and we act with people and planet in mind as a company. We plant a tree for every pair of shoes sold at retail. It's pretty exciting. We just surpassed over 7 million and counting since 2007. That number continues to grow exponentially. And then on the right there, you see the certified B Corp corporation. We're pretty proud of this takeaway. This took place in 2023. It's a lot of work to be a B Corp certified business. For us, it stands for the 3 C's, climate, circularity, and community. And it shows in everything that we do. Our shoes are created and conceptualized in Bozeman, Montana. They are manufactured in Vietnam. So, fair labor practices is a priority, working with our companies overseas, working with our local communities, working with outreach communities such as the ExperienceMore tour, giving back, and bottom line, sustainability. As we talk about the Katabatic line, you'll see nuances of recycled product in our footwear. And that is something that will continue to grow as the brand continues to grow and evolve.
Yeah, I love that you're a B Corp. There are only a handful of B Corps in the outdoor industry, and I do think that if you are looking to shop places that your dollar can make sort of maybe align more with your values, choosing to shop with a B Corp really is pretty powerful because there's a lot behind that. It is not just a marketing stamp. There is a lot behind becoming a B Corp, and it just kind of goes without saying you're going to have sustainability practices in your products, right? It goes without saying that you're going to have fair labor practices when you see a B Corp, right? You don't even have to sweat about that. And it's really remarkable that Oboz is able to do that as a footwear brand. So
Yeah, I
very,
mean,
very
it started in 23, and now the real work really begins. Keeping up and keeping in line
maintaining. Yeah.
with those standards that the B Corp certified stamp comes with.
Yeah, it really profits are not the ultimate goal of your corporation, right? It's a benefit corporation, and so it really has a slightly different angle, which I think is very, very cool. I mean, you still have to be profitable, but profits are not what's driving your decision making. And I just want to
Correct.
stress that it is you can shop with the B Corp and feel good about it, and I love that Oboz is that. So thank you for being that, and thanks for supporting that. But you could be a B Corp and make bad product and you won't survive. So you're going to make great product and you do, right? And it all begins, I think, in footwear with fit. Fit is kind of everything. If a shoe doesn't fit, then it's not going to work, right? We could talk all the whiz bang features, but it's got to fit. And I love that, Peter, you kind of have this paradigm or this framework in which to think about fit, right? Often we talk about the last, which is like the foot shape that the shoe is built around, but that is only as good as all the other components that go into it. Peter, can you explore these sort of 6 variables of that affect fit on a shoe?
Sure. Thank you, Marshall. Absolutely. We have what we call the OFIT system, and it means that all of those things create the fit of the shoe. It's not just the last, as Marshall said. You can make a shoe last, and then depending on the patterns and the materials that you're using and the way those things come together, you can create a very different fit right from the same shoe last. And that's really important for people to recognize that you really can make a lot of different shoes from one last. We have about 8 or 9 working lasts in the company right now. Scott, it might be more, I'm not sure. Last I counted, it was about 8 or 9. And from that, we have a multitude of different fits and different shoes and different styles. So, and then you put an outsole package on that and a midsole component. Those things will, again, change the way the shoe feels, the way it performs, what's in that midsole, what's making it happen. Like there's a difference between the Katabatic LT and the Katabatic Wind, and that all has to do with the midsole and the outsole and how. Although the outsoles are pretty much the same, the midsole is different, and there's a different component in there. So you get a different feel and a different response. So, and what makes Oboz, I think, a little bit separate from the crowd is from the very beginning, we had a basic fit. Our fit DNA is a narrow heel and a sort of sculpted midfoot and a wider forefoot so that you have room for your toes to splay, a nice hug around the middle. John used to always say, I like my shoes to hug my feet. Um, and when you tie up a pair of Oboz, you really do get that nice snug midfoot hug, and you get a really good heel pocket that holds your heel in place so your foot's not sliding forward or popping up out of the shoe. So and here we do have this, sort of a range of fits based on those lasts and the components that we put into the shoe. And so you look at something like the Bridger or the old Sawtooth 2, which is a much more generous and rounder forefoot, to something more athletic like the Katabatic LT and the Katabatic and the Sawtooth X. Those are a little bit more performance like shoes, and we want those shoes to fit more like a glove and let you feel and articulate through the mountains and the rocks. And as you're hiking aggressively, you don't want to be looking at your feet. You want to be comfortable just looking forward and moving and feeling the ground. So that's why we do have this range of fits.
Yeah, and it's neat to see that there is this range of fit, and as we get into Katabatic LT, we'll explore actually wides within this as well. But one of the things I do notice is there is a lot of room for toes, right? You don't go with a pointy silhouette; it's a roomy toe silhouette, even in the athletic fit, right? You're going to still have toe wiggle room, which I think is very, very much an American foot thing. And because you're an American-based company, you can just kind of design these shoes to fit our feet really, really well.
Yes.
It's heartening to see. Well, I'd like to kind of take a look now at the Katabatic LT. Let's dive into this, and we can explain the fit as we look into this. But I want to introduce this category of the Katabatic LT. Like, who is it for? So, Scott, can you talk a little bit about why the Katabatic LT came to be, and really who you envision these shoes going onto?
Yeah, Marshall, of course. So, what you mentioned earlier is that Oboz offers a wide range of different kinds of footwear, right? So I always use the analogy, I've got a garage full of bicycles. And those bicycles all have different capabilities, different scenarios, different places to use those bikes. Well, look at the same point in your footwear. This picture really kind of sums it up best. This is somebody that's moving light and fast in the mountains. This may be somebody that is a trail runner that is looking to add to their quiver on those down days where they want to move light and fast in the mountains. The Katabatic LT in the low is just shy of about 11.8 ounces. In the mid, you're looking at 12.8. So relative light shoe. We don't want to compromise quality for lightweight in the Katabatic. And we'll talk about the technology that we put into that shoe here in a little bit. But again, who is that shoe for? Somebody who is moving light and agile in the mountains. That was the overall intended use. Okay. But this is a shoe for everybody. This is a very light shoe. I think when we talked to Marshall right out of the bat, when he got the footwear, the first thing he said to Peter and I was, wow, this is light.
You notice that when you pull it out of the box, it's kind of like floats in your hand. It's lighter than expected, and you've done a lot to kind of shave off ounces where you can in this without compromising quality.
Indeed.
A blow apart and show us can you talk about some of the components in this shoe and how you
totally
to be both
I've got one in my hand right here too, but we'll start at the top and kind of work our way down. Okay. You've got a perforated foam tongue for breathability and overall comfort. You've got welded and reinforced TPU heel and toe exactly where you need it in the conditions that you're going to take this kind of footwear. You can also glue on like a Dirty Girl, little tape on the back there for the gator channel and gator loop that is right here, and the gator channel that exists on the bottom of the footwear. You're looking at abrasion resistant, 100% recycled polyester
Nice.
on the outside of the footwear. You've got the trim webbing, and you've got the ACT Energy midsole with a rock plate built inside of this footwear too. What is that going to do? It's going to protect your foot against stone bruising or foot fatigue. We all know what it's like being out on the trail, long days, feeling everything under your foot. Well, that ACT Energy midsole combined with that rock plate is going to give you essentially an energized ride all over again. And we also have the trail tread technology right here. This is a proprietary, part of Oboz. You're looking at about 5 mm lug depth and 8 mm heel to toe drop on this shoe. When you think about the trail tread technology, I don't want you just to think about the overall lug support that's very grippy. I also want you to think about the rubber compound inside the footwear. And the rubber compound inside the footwear is very aggressive on wet surfaces such as wet rock and wet granite. And then lastly, we also have the Ortholite floating insole right here, which is a big part of the Oboz DNA. So sculpted heel pocket, again, as Peter talked about that hug, very bendy support meant to move with your foot. This is a really nice add-on on this shoe and complements many of our shoes in our line. And then last but not least, let's not forget about the GORE-TEX technology that ties this footwear all together. You see that diamond right there, right? It's a call out. It's a call out to waterproofing. It's a call out to windproof. It's a call out to a new technology. Here we are with the invisible fit seam sealed liner. The mid that we've got right here, Marshall, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about the technology and what Rob has done for a game changer in this footwear.
Yeah, and so, Visible Fit is a sort of iteration on Gore-Tex technology, and you see it exclusively in Gore-Tex shoes, right? It began in the running market as a way to make running shoes waterproof, windproof, and breathable without affecting the fit, without affecting the ride, and allowing for quicker dry out times. And we achieve this by directly bonding the membrane to the uppers of the shoes. And this has been really effective in running. And I think if anybody who's tried a visible fit shoe, you probably love the technology, mostly because you can't feel that it's there until you need the benefits that you get from our core benefits of waterproof, windproof, and breathability. The challenge has been in mids to incorporate it in a way that allows for a tongue gusset. It allows for the tongue to open up and be able to get your foot in and out of a mid, right? The tongue is there to really open up the width of the collar. And being able to seam seal a slightly different tongue piece in has been a challenge in Invisible Fit. We've been able to do it, but it wasn't optimal. You had to do some kind of hacks around it. And that's mostly because you can't get a seam sealing machine into the shoe because of all the eyelet hardware and that you see on the outside of the shoe. And so Rob, who we're going to be talking with tomorrow on the ExperienceMore tour, was able to develop, patent a new technology, which this red arrow is pointing to. This looks like a piece of seam tape, but it's not. It's actually a very specialized piece of material that is die cut by Oboz to its exact shape that it needs to be to match the tongue gusset, and then it's heat pressed on in the factory to be able to create that bond where the stitch lines are to hold that tongue area in. So I'm getting way into the weeds, but I know y'all love it, so it's okay. But this little part that you see here is what makes us able to add Invisible Fit into shoes like the Katabatic LT Mid. And so this is a brand new technology, and Oboz's factories were able to retool and sort of using our specs be able to come up with a way of producing this for the Katabatic LT. So we're seeing this employed in this shoe. You can really see it here because the seam tape is a lighter color in this shoe versus the rest of the direct bonding of the Invisible Fit. So this is a completely waterproof, windproof, breathable shoe, but it's very elegantly applied. And just want to call out that this is something unique to Oboz at this time. This was going to be wrapping into the rest of the industry. It's really exciting to see this happening. So that's the Katabatic LT. It features GORE-TEX Invisible Fit technology, which is called out on the exterior of the shoe. And really, if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend trying Invisible Fit technology. It may completely change your mind about sort of GORE-TEX footwear in general. It is a huge step forward in technology. So Scott and Peter, both of you have been able to take these out in the field. Scott, you took them to the desert, which is not a place maybe folks think about using GORE-TEX technology, but what was your experience using these shoes in the Arizona desert?
Yeah, thanks, Marshall. Obviously, Marshall wanted us to test out the product and talk to it a bit. At that time, we hadn't had the shoe yet, but fortunately, being in Arizona, doing some clinics, we got our demo sets and getting shoes on people's feet. I had an opportunity to go do some time in a canyon outside of Tucson, Arizona. Talk about a guy who's got generally sweaty feet, which is me. Well, here I am in the desert, mid 70s. The first thing I noticed coming off of the trail is that, essentially my sock was dry. The second takeaway, when I actually did take off this shoe, which I didn't take off this shoe until I got to the airport, which should say something from a sense of overall comfort without putting recovery shoes on. But when I did take off this shoe, the one thing I noticed is that my sock was clean. I had no visible traces of dirt or debris inside the shoe. The more I wore this shoe, the more it conformed to my feet, and I truly based that on the overall invisible fit. It looks like a running shoe, but let's not lose sight that Oboz wants to be the hiking brand, and the invisible fit in the desert fits that mark.
Yeah, I mean, it's another kind of secret benefit for those who haven't experienced this in the desert, right? We talk about waterproof, windproof, and breathability, but dustproof is actually pretty major in some of these hikes, especially if you're out for multiple days. Having clean socks means less blisters, it means less stinky feet, it means sort of just general comfort overall, and that is a huge benefit of having a membrane in the shoe. And Scott, I'm psyched you got to experience that. I myself am super stoked on that. And it's fun to see folks get converted into that as well. Like, yeah, not just for waterproofness, also for dustproofness. And then the breathability testament is pretty cool as well. And if somebody has sweaty feet and then you forgot to take off your shoes as you got into the car, that's pretty cool, right? That's a win. That means you didn't notice they were on your feet, and that's the goal for sure. Now, Peter, you had a slightly different experience. You were not in the desert when you tried these out.
No, I was in upstate New York in Cherry Valley visiting my son. I was walking his dog and I was post-holing through the snow. And of course, I was not wearing gaiters like I should have been, or rain pants or anything like that. And so snow's going into the big hole in the top of the shoe. And like user error, like most people who, oh,
Sure, but it happens, right? Yeah.
you know but you get all wet. My socks were wet. I could feel the cold and melting into my sock, and my foot was a little cold from that. And I got out of the snow and I was walking on the road for another half hour or so with the dog, and I got back to the house expecting wet socks and wet inside of the shoe. But just like they had demonstrated for us at our brand summit last year, I took off the shoe, like I said, expecting like wetness in there. My sock was dry, the shoe was dry.
Wow.
In half an hour. All that moisture that had gotten into the shoe had dissipated out, and I was pretty impressed. Because that's not how it works in a hung liner kind of booty where everything inside just stays wet for days. So
Yeah, that's great, and that's great to hear that. Yeah, your first experience was something kind of like that. That I'm not going to call it extreme because it's not quite extreme, but where something really got quite wet and you were able to dry it out and experience the breathability of Invisible Fit. Also, matched with the really lightweight uppers that are in this shoe, right? These are designed to be extremely breathable. And so it is the Invisible Fit technology on the inside paired with the materials choices on the outside that make that breathability of the shoe and allow for all day comfort. So really cool stories, Peter. Thank you. And Scott as well for sharing that with us. We have a couple questions that I do want to address for sure. You talked about the OFit insoles. Those are also known as sock liners. Other brands call those sock liners. Um, if somebody has an aftermarket insole, what's your thoughts on that? Since the whole system is designed with that insole in mind.
That's a really good question. And one of the things about Oboz is that when I don't have a shoe last right here, but when we make our shoe lasts, we include space for the OFit insole, whether it's the OFit regular or the Fast and Light OFit that Scott was showing before. That is part of the shoe last in our shoes. It's not an afterthought. So there is space. Is it going to be perfect for your custom orthopedic insole? It might not be perfect, but one of the things that's different than your typical 2 millimeter piece of foam, um, when you stick an insert, an orthopedic insert in there, you're going to lift that foot higher than the shoe is necessarily designed for. So sometimes people who have custom orthotics find that the shoes no longer fit properly, or their heel is popping out, or their ankle is rubbing on the collar of the shoe, or things like that. Um, it may not be the perfect fit with an Oboz, but it's certainly better than the average shoe that does not have space for an insole like ours. Um, so it so that's the answer to that.
Yeah, right. I mean, they have to just try it is the main thing, and they may have to half size up to
Mhm.
get that extra volume that they might need from having. It depends on the orthopedic insole, right? Of course, and how thick it is. But like you said, because you're already specing out a medium width or medium thickness to thick insole, that could be beneficial, right? Easier to swap out with a
And
custom
and,
orthotic.
and don't lose sight of the many variables. Again, a lot of different shoes, a lot of different end purposes for our footwear.
Yeah,
The Bridger is very different, obviously, in comparison to our Katabatic LT.
yeah.
Different fits, different nature of fit. So,
Yeah, right. So a challenge, but an interesting challenge, right? And that's always part of the fun of footwear fitting. I love it
Mhm.
because when you nail it, it's great. And thank you both for sort of exploring this. This has been fun to explore the Katabatic LT. The other shoe in the Gore-Tex line this season is the Bridger Ridge, right? And that is usually in Gore-Tex booty technology, as that is a sort of shoe with a lot of overlays, more of a robust hiking shoe, and so that gets our tried and true technology, which is also awesome. And if you want to know more about that, we will be doing a footwear fundamentals training this week where we're going to go through the different technologies from the Gore-Tex perspective. And so join us for that if you'd like to learn a little bit more about these different technologies. But an excellent shoe and really fun to be able to launch with these two shoes with you, especially this Katabatic LT as being just a hot, sort of high volume shoe. It's going to, by hot, I mean exciting, not hot as in like physically hot.
Marshall, we
So,
did have one last
oh
question
yeah,
on men's and women's. Yes, offered in both men's and women's, both in low and mid, invisible fit, non-invisible fit.
And it,
Did want to talk about wides, and I'll let Peter talk about wides because we don't
please
want to
do.
lose sight that this
Yeah.
shoe is offered in a wide, both in low and mid.
and they're offered in a true wide. And what that really means is we make one-to-one sizing in Oboz, and instead of fitting two sizes on one outsole package, which some brands will do, we do one size. So if it's a size 9, there's a size 9, a 9.5, and a 10. There's 3 separate outsole packages. Same thing for wides. A lot of companies will put a wide shoe on a regular outsole package. They puff up the top, but they're really not making the bottom any wider. So they're basically muffin topping the foot. We actually make a wide outsole package to put a wide shoe on top of. So we do care about fit.
Yes, you do, and the fact that you launched a wide at its initial offering is pretty shows that you understand what our customers want, what customers do want.
Yes.
So
We
that
want to
is,
be the fit brand
yeah,
at the end of the day. That's what
yeah,
it's
and you got
really
to have
about.
those options. So pull out that wide with the regular when you're fitting a customer, and see what they like best, right? And you can explore that. So great that that option exists, and that's really special. So, Peter and Scott, thank you so much for taking time with us today. It's always a pleasure to explore this technology, and it's just an extra pleasure to do it with a brand that's new with GORE-TEX. And I look forward to the partnership to see where it goes to in the future. I think there's going to be some exciting offerings coming together. Thanks for being amazing. Thanks for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure having you with us.